Welcome back. Let's take you here now. Former U.S. President Donald Trump will appear in court in Miami later today to face 37 charges related to his alleged illegal retention of highly classified documents. Trump is accused of taking thousands of top secret papers when he left the White House and storing them in a haphazard manner at his home in Florida. For more now, we cross live to SABC News correspondent Sally Patterson in Florida. Sally, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. So any moment now or later on in the afternoon, your time, President Trump will be facing those charges. Of course, these are very serious charges. These are federal charges. Talk to us about what we can expect.
Absolutely. So as you can see behind me, police are starting to turn out in force. We've got lots of levels of security here ahead of Donald Trump arriving within the next few hours, as you say. Now we've got Miami local police. We've also got federal police here because we are expecting to see quite a few supporters and protesters who are going to be gathered outside the court. They have started to gather just on the other side of this building, and we've seen some people walking through handing out flyers. Mainly we've been seeing pro-Trump supporters who don't believe that he should be coming into this court to be arraigned in what is a first for any U.S. president or former president. He will be the first in U.S. history to come in here where he's expected to be fingerprinted and he's expected to go through the formal process of being arraigned. He's not expected to have a photograph, a mugshot taken, but we'll have to wait and see what comes out of that. He will be led through the court where he will have his charges formally read out to him, 37 different counts, and he will then be asked to put in a plea of guilty or not guilty. He has repeatedly said that he is an innocent man, and indeed he's told media before that he will be pleading not guilty, and over the next few hours we'll see what he does say in that courtroom. There will then be an opportunity for both sides, the defense and the prosecution, to try and get different bits of evidence deleted, taken out of this case, claiming that it shouldn't be there, it shouldn't have been gathered. We know that Donald Trump's team has been working on looking at that evidence, which has been gathered now for over 2 years, different bits of evidence that is alleged that he brought with him out of the White House when he was no longer president in 2021.
But in fact, just as you say, Trump being defiant, defending these latest charges against him. He's also, of course, made speeches, just seemingly very much unfazed. But of course, we know that his former Attorney General, Bill Barr, stating that even if he is, found guilty of half of those charges, he is toast, in other words, saying that he will, pay the price. Just talk to us about what do we know is in those, court applications in terms of the related to these 37 charges.
Absolutely. We've heard some very strong words there, as you say, from both Donald Trump himself, who has very much denied any wrongdoing, as he has repeatedly done throughout this case. We've also heard a mixed reaction from his fellow Republicans. He is, of course, running again for president in 2024, and he has a number of rivals in the Republican Party, all hoping to be the candidate to face Joe Biden in that 2024 race. Now, many of them have been saying that this is a weaponization of the political system, of the justice system, saying that this is politically motivated and that Donald Trump is basically being used by the Democrats to be shown up as an example, and really there is nothing here. It's just a kind of political witch hunt, as he says. But we've also heard very strong words from those who say that no one is above the law, including the special counsel, Jack Smith, in this case, who says no one is above the law, and he says that he will make sure that this trial is done as quickly as possible to make sure that it's in the public interest, and also to help the alleged defense here. And so we'll see how long it will take. We're not expecting details of the length of the trial until we've gone through the proceedings of today. Now, within that indictment itself, we saw that come out at the end of last week. As I say, 37 different counts there. covering a number of different and very serious federal charges, including espionage, so really the charge of spying, and that really is around him bringing home thousands of documents from the White House, bringing them to a number of his residences, both here in Florida and also in New Jersey, where he is said to have stored boxes of some of these top secret confidential papers which related to national security of the United States and indeed its allies as well. So he's understood to have stored, or he's alleged to have stored, thousands of these documents, some of which were top secret, and they were piled up in pictures that were also in that indictment, piled up in a ballroom, in a bedroom, and even in a bathroom. And so very serious charges indeed.
And of course, just talking about the length of the trial, it is expected that it could run very likely past the, the upcoming elections. What does this mean then for his political ambitions, for his campaign per se?
Well, what we've seen over the past few months, when Donald Trump was actually brought into another court, a few states over from where we are in New York City, he was brought in front of a Manhattan jury because he was charged there with allegedly tampering with business records, and that's in relation to payments that he allegedly paid to Stormy Daniels, an adult film star. Now, what we saw then is actually his ratings, especially among his Republican fan base, actually went up. And so we can understand then that court proceedings actually helped him in his campaign to become the next president of the United States once again. Now, ratings here so far have shown that most Republicans continue to support him. We know that he's really leading the way among his rivals in the Republican Party, and so far polling suggests that most Republicans believe that this is politically motivated, and only around 50% of Americans believe that the charges should have been brought against him. Around 35% believe they shouldn't have, and the rest aren't sure. But within the Republican Party, the support for Donald Trump remains very strong.
Sally, before I let you go, of course, now there's already talk around the federal judge who will be overseeing, Trump's matter. Already people saying that she is facing criticism, given that Trump himself appointed her and elevated her to the bench 3 years ago. Just talk to us about what is everybody saying, what is the likelihood that she might recuse herself?
Well, Eileen Cannon is indeed a controversial figure. She was, as you say, appointed by Donald Trump himself, and she has been involved in related cases and been accused of being relatively lenient towards him, doing things that other judges perhaps won't have done. And so there have been calls from across the political spectrum and indeed from within the justice system calling on her to leave that case and give it to someone else, saying that it could put at risk the legitimacy of the outcome of this trial. We haven't seen any movement towards that yet. We understand that it might be a different judge on the case today, but she will continue to be the lead judge in this overall case. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. It's unlikely that she will choose to remove herself from this case, but it could happen, and there are increasingly calls for her to step aside and let someone who is perhaps more neutral, who perhaps wasn't appointed by the defendant themselves, to be leading this case.
Sally, thank you so much for your time and, of course, your update. Sally Patterson there coming to us live from Florida, of course. Former U.S. President Donald Trump will appear in court in Miami later today.